I've done things in my life. I'm not perfect. But the things I've been accused of, I know that I haven't done those things.
It doesn't look like this Atlanta rapper will be cashing out anytime soon. The rapper, known best by his stage name Cash Out, learned his fate in court after being convicted of sex trafficking and RICO.
One day the truth will come out on my situation. One day the truth will come out on this rape allegation, that these things never happened.
Thanks for joining us on Law & Crime. I'm Elizabeth Millner. It looks like Cash Out kept his criminal enterprise all in the family, because not only was he indicted, arrested, charged, convicted, and sentenced, but so was his cousin and even his mother.
He and his mom literally stole the souls of all the women that they victimized. This is evident in our daughter's case, as what he did to her defined her what she is today. She has been traumatized to the point she can't even be a mother to her own children.
Dear Jean Michael Gibson, you don't deserve prison. Prison would be too good of a place for you. But since the death penalty is not an option, I pray that you never know peace, and that your soul will never return to this realm after it leaves. You are a disgrace and an abomination, and true definition of a monster.
During the course of this trial, the court heard and viewed evidence demonstrating the very worst of human behavior toward other human beings.
Jean Michael Gibson, aka Cash Out, rose to fame in the 2010s with hits like Cashin' Out and She Twerkin'. He's worked with artists like Lil Durk, Future, and Migos. But then in 2022, he was indicted and arrested on charges including rape, aggravated sodomy, human trafficking, and violating Georgia's Racketeering Influence in Corrupt Organizations Act, also known as RICO. Now, those were just some of the charges he faced. He was also charged with pimping, pandering, battery, and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. Prosecutors said Cash Out was the leader of a criminal enterprise that participated in racketeering activity, trafficking, and other violence. Now, the state claims that the rapper used his record label Pyrex Music Group LLC and his music influence to coerce, entice, and recruit women from social media to engage in commercial sex acts. Some of the accusations even going back more than a decade ago. I want to thank Odoo for sponsoring this news story. Odoo is a powerful all-in-one business software that helps you manage everything from sales to accounting and even manufacturing. Schedule your production, manage your assembly line, and fine-tune your work orders with Odoo all-in-one easy-to-use platform. Need fully assembled manufacturing software that puts your business ahead of schedule? Well, Odoo has you covered. Plus, Odoo's manufacturing app syncs seamlessly with your sales, inventory, and purchasing modules, so everything stays connected and running smoothly. Check out Odoo to take your manufacturing process to the next level and get a free 15-day trial at odoo.com/lcnewsmanufacturing. According to WSB-TV in Atlanta, jurors heard lots of testimony, even hearing from the victims themselves. The Fulton County prosecutor even telling the jury, this ain't just pimping, this is trafficking. And prosecutors add Cash Out had help from his mom, Linda Smith, aka Mama Cash, and his cousin Tyrone Taylor, who helped him run what prosecutors call a house of horrors. The women were isolated from their families, had their IDs taken, were coached not to talk to the cops. Some of the victims even testified Cash Out beat them, forced them to post sex ads, and withheld money. The jury reportedly saw evidence including texts between Cash Out and his co-defendants coordinating the sale of women and how to collect payment. Nearly 10 cell phones were submitted into evidence showing how everything worked within their operation. But Cash Out's defense attorney argued there wasn't any evidence tying the rapper's music career or record label to a trafficking enterprise or that the women were forced. Attorneys for the rapper's mother even claimed that she was unaware of the trafficking activities. But prosecutors reportedly linked Mama Cash by pointing out payment receipts and property records linking her to the operation. For example, using a leased home where the victims were housed. And some of the witnesses testified she engaged in prostitution herself. So Cash Out, Mama Cash, and Cousin Tyrone were all convicted just last week. And this week, all three were sentenced. But before that officially happened, the court heard from the victims, some who testified during the trial. But during sentencing, an advocate read some of the letters to the court. And let's just say what these different women described was absolute hell.
I really did trust him when I met him. He promised me that I would get my kids back, which was a big effect on my life because at the time, that's all I wanted was to have my kids in my life. So, I thought I would be able to go back home, have things for my kids, and be able to get my kids back in my life, but that was empty promises. I have gone through so much since all this happened. I have gone through many doctor's visits. I've done a lot of therapy to try to overcome this situation that affects me to this day. So for the rest of my life, I will fear that they will kill me. I will never forget the times that he threatened to kill me with a gun, even firing gunshots indoor wherever we were. All because he was mad that I didn't want to go out and do what he wanted me to do. They know where members of my family live, and I will rest easier knowing that these two individuals are locked up for their crimes. In 2015, I was robbed and raped at gunpoint by two men while in a hotel with my best friend. In 2015, I was 20 years old, young, free, open-hearted, optimistic, and had an insatiable lust for life. However, after the event in 2015, I became anxiety and depression-stricken, filled with paranoia and severely distrustful of everything and everyone. That was cowardly, and inwardly I felt alone, afraid, disgusting, unloved, and unlovable because I was tainted by an experience that altered my personality so much that I couldn't even recognize myself. Repulsed by the thought that I would be forced to explain to anyone who attempted to bond with me, and fearful of being too much to deal with, because why would anyone love a victim of such a heinous and fearful of a heinous thing, or fearful of being questioned because my story didn't make sense, and I would not be seen as a victim I really was. Pushing away anyone close to me before they could leave me first, but worst of all, I felt like I didn't deserve to live anymore. As I sit in my tears, remembering how this one event spiraled into the darkest moments of my entire existence, I remember the gut-wrenching feeling of having to explain to my friends and family that cared about me what happened, and the feeling of being judged, just as I did the day that the police were called and ignored me as well. I wanted to die. I tried to die. And had it not been for me hearing my grandmother's voice while I drifted into what I thought would be a peaceful death after swallowing what I thought was enough Tylenol PM to end my life, I never would have had the strength to turn on my stomach and make myself vomit until it hurt. But at that time, I was miserable, desperate, alone, and afraid of the entire world, and even myself.
The parents of another victim spoke to the court about what their daughter endured while being held captive by the rapper.
Because she was so young, we were still paying for her car insurance, her cell phone. This is how we located our only child, who was taken from North Carolina to Georgia with a promise to be his girlfriend, and even told he was meeting his mother. Please understand the relevance to that statement, because I have been married since September of 1989. And all these warm and fuzzy triggers played into the scam of his wealth and the role that he would play in these women's lives, using his one-hit wonder status to steal their person. He and his mom literally stole the souls of all the women that they victimized. This is evident in our daughter's case, as what he did to her defined her what she is today. She has been traumatized to the point she can't even be a mother to her own children. She's been in counseling since this incident and suffers post-traumatic stress disorder because of the violence and deceit that he and his mom delivered. These individuals withheld food while they were selling these young ladies on the internet to these Johns. And they would keep every dollar too. That's how they made their money. They didn't make it by music. They simply used the music platform to lure these women in.
But one victim returned after testifying in the trial. Now, we don't see her face on camera to protect her privacy, but she gave an emotional statement on how cash out nearly ruined her life.
They violated me, assaulted me, and attempted to market and sell me for the purposes of prostitution. Can you believe that after hours of rape and assault, I consider myself lucky? Because had they been successful, had my family not tracked me down, had Officer Yamians and his degree of skill and experience witnessing victims of human trafficking not recognized my distress and rescued me, I would have been further victimized on a regular basis for God knows how long. In my vulnerable state, I simply wasn't strong enough to save myself or even found value in saving myself. These defendants not only saw this and preyed on this, they further violated, assaulted, and victimized me and attempted to profit off of this vulnerability as if my body was a wholesale product they sought to make revenue from.
Now, given that he was convicted of some very serious charges like RICO, trafficking, rape, and more, the prosecution wasn't asking for any short time for the rapper, his mom, or his cousin.
As to Jean Michael Hakeem Gibson, count 1, RICO, 20 years to serve. Count 10, rape, life. Count 12, aggravated sodomy, life. Count 22, trafficking a person for sexual servitude, 20 years to serve. Count 23, trafficking a person for sexual servitude, 20 years to serve. Count 24 and count 30, merge, 12 months to serve. Count 25, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, 5 years consecutive to the sentence. Count 26, pimping, 12 months to serve. Count 28, keeping a place of prostitution, 12 months to serve. Count 29, willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer, 12 months to serve. And count 45, prohibited items by an inmate, 5 years to serve. We'd ask the court, as special conditions, should the court give any probated time, that a $100,000 fine be allowed pursuant to OCGA section 16-5-46. Defendant is to register as a sex offender. As it relates to Linda Smith, also known as Marinka Vinny, count 1, RICO, 20 years to serve. And count 37, trafficking a person for sexual servitude, 20 years to serve. We are also asking for the same special conditions as enumerated as to defendant John Gibson. That's a global of 40 years to serve.
Now, we got to tell both sides here and give you the defense's side too. Cash Out's attorney asked the judge for just 30 years.
Mr. Gibson is 34 years old. He has 3 children. He has a 17-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 9-year-old. The state enumerated that he has 24 cycles. However, he has no prior felony convictions on his record. None. The open cases involve a drug charge from 2021 and possession of cell phones inside the jail. And we understand that the state brought forth a RICO indictment, and they put in its indictment a period from 2013 down through 21, 22. They did say that there are countless unknown victims. That's what they said in their representation to the court. Countless unknown victims. We are here to deal with what was heard inside this trial and what is known about 1710-2 as it relates to my client's criminal history. I'm not asking the court to give this court, Mr. Gibson, 2 life sentences. I'm asking for concurrent time. I'm asking this court, before the trial, the recommendation was 25 years. He did not accept that because Mr. Gibson wanted his day in court, and he got that. He received his day in court, Your Honor. He wanted the constitutional right to have his 6th Amendment trial, and he received that. He received a fair trial from this honorable court. So we're asking that he receive a fair sentence as well.
But what did the Atlanta rapper have to say for himself? Well, let's just say he didn't actually say he's sorry.
Good morning today, Your Honor.
Good morning.
I want to start out by thanking you for giving us a fair trial. I want to thank the jurors for the amount of time that they put in to judge this trial. This time being on this trial, I was able to see how the jurors are put in a tough position to, sit there and judge someone's life, and, it's a hard decision, and I felt like they made the wrong judgment. I've done things in my life. I'm not perfect. But the things I've been accused of, I know that I haven't done those things. I know it's typical for a person to come up here and, show remorse to, crimes that they have done, but I can only show remorse to the people that I know that was in this trial, which is Kiera Adams, Deanna Sanders, and Jasmine Brown. Not remorse on behalf of like I did anything to them, because if you know me, and people who really know me know that I wouldn't force anybody to do anything. I met women, I dated women who were doing escort or whatever, however people want to look at it from a moral standpoint, but who was doing these things as a grown woman. I've only dealt with grown women. Nothing was forced. Nothing was coerced or anything of that nature. If you notice, before this trial, no woman can say anything about me before this trial. If you notice, before this indictment, no woman can say anything about me before this indictment. I get the situations that people are put in when they're faced with a certain type of crime or a certain type of time, and they're bullied into this situation to put the blame on someone, or to put the blame on Cash Out, or to put the blame on someone who's at the top. That's why I didn't really fault them for their decision. I didn't fault Deanna Sanders for making her decision during a proffer. She just had a child. Mind you, she was just on video call with me while being incarcerated. I don't fault Kiera Adams for doing the things she did with her proffer, because mind you, she was facing a certain amount of time handling her probation in different cases that she's on. I don't fault people for making accusations, because I'm a man that typically let women leave on their own behalf. Never held them in prison or held them in slavery or said, you can't leave me, or you can't do this. Every woman you seen come on this stand showed you that they left and came back willingly on their own. What I mean by that, they left on their own and they came back willingly on their own. During this trial, I was able to see, how valuable life is, and how valuable the people that you hang around, or the people that you even date, or the people that you even know, how valuable it is to judge their character. Sometimes I let people stay around who I knew was going to affect a situation that I had going on. So I don't, and for the people who came to this trial that I never met a day in my life, never had any contact with them, never had a text message with them, never had an interaction with them, don't even know where most of these stories came from, is baffling. Never forced a woman to commit a sexual act. I've been traveling all around the world from here to Dubai, and you would never hear a woman say that I forced them to do anything sexual or commit a rape with anybody. I don't hang around people that do things of that nature. I feel like And somebody asked me this the other day. It was like, every time I see your head high and you always smiling, because when you have that confidence, it takes me back to the Bible. When you have that confidence and you know you can be falsely accused of things. Jesus was falsely accused. A lot of the prophets were falsely accused. You don't have that emotion like you've done something. So if you see me with my head high, or if you see me smiling, it's because I know at the end of the day, through Jesus Christ, the Most High will always give you the actual judgment. So I really thank you for providing us a fair trial. Just me getting to know you during trial, I was like, she's just the judge. But when you sit 12 people in that panel and you have them, judge our lives and, put them in a position to judge our lives, it takes you back to, once again, the Bible, when people had to judge these prophets' lives. And I say, if you know me, you actually know me. There's plenty of people that know me in this world. There's plenty of people that know me in this jail. There's plenty of people that know me where I'm from. Like I say, once again, I'm not perfect. I come from certain areas. I come from, certain environments. I come from doing things in my past life before the music. But I'm here to tell you that if you sat in this trial and you paid attention to this trial, before these dates, no woman could ever say, I done those things to them. Before these dates, you can go on my Instagram and see these women enjoying themselves, having their own things, living their own life. Before these dates, I can say you had these women that never had anything to say about me. Before this indictment, before the RICO, you had these women actually talking to me while I was incarcerated. I've been incarcerated for 4 years, and these women are interacting with me. These women who took the stand and supposedly scared of me, or monsters, or I'm a monster, or took these proffers. This wasn't the case before they was indicted. So from my perspective, I feel like some people can get bullied into a situation that they really don't really want to do. And I'm sitting here just holding my head high and just, feeling that one day the truth will come out. One day the truth will come out on my situation. One day the truth will come out on this rape allegation, that these things never happened. And when you see a person get up on that stand and put their hand on the Bible and swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, that means you have to be perfect, like you're Jesus. You have to be perfect on that stand. You can't show a flaw. And that's a tough one. It's a tough one for me, because I had flaws in my life. So you have to tell the complete truth on that stand. And I got up there and see people put their hand on that Bible and not tell the complete truth. And that's baffling.
His mom's attorney spoke to the court next, touting Mama Cash had been working on herself since she's been in custody. And she gave a more emotional statement before her sentencing than her son did.
I'd like to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm sorry. I'd like to say thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak. Not a day ever since I turned myself in, I was always prayerful for the victims. I take accountability. I pray for them continuously. I pray for the district attorney's office. I pray for you, Judge, because that's what God requires me to do. And that's what I truly feel in my heart, because I love God so much, and I'm so full of joy. That Friday, when the verdict came in, I wasn't angry at all. Not at all. I almost thought something was wrong with me. So that Saturday, well, the night before, let me back up, I talked to God like I always do. And he said, I must give my testimony to the young ladies at New Beginnings. And I said, Father God, I don't want to put my business out there. That's my business. But Father God said, your business is my business, and my agenda is your agenda. He said for me, which I always do, I respect authority. And Sergeant Ball was on the shift in my pod. So I had to speak to her. I was kind of afraid to speak to her. But Father God reminded me, he said, I'm by your side, do not fear. So I pressed the button and I asked, could I speak to her, because I knew that in order to get my testimony, there's authority that I must talk to. So I went out and she asked me what was going on. And I said, Sergeant Paul, I'm asking, like, during devotion, will I be able to give my testimony? Because that's what God has said for me to do. It wasn't a choice. God doesn't give you that. He gives commandments. And I never want to be disobedient to God. She said, Miss Smith, she said, you cannot be disobedient to God. So if you give your testimony and it just saves one person, just one person, you've done what God asked you to do. So I gave my testimony to about 35 women in the New Beginnings pod with me. God was speaking through me. I give him all the praise and glory. It's not me at all. My attorney, she's been great. She's been great. And she asked me when she came Sunday to speak to me what I would like her to say. And she has done that. And I just said, give me an opportunity just to speak to the judge, just a little bit. I'm so sorry for the victims, and I pray for them and will continue to pray. Because God says, if you love me, you love others. And when I pray wholeheartedly. I didn't think I could do it in the beginning. I said, God, I don't know if I can do this. But he knew exactly what he wanted me to do. He chose me to do this. I couldn't even stop teaching the word if I wanted to. That's not even an option with me. Whatever you wish it to be, I'm okay with that. Because I will continue to spread the good news wherever I go.
And finally, we get to Cousin Tyrone. His lawyer argued he played the smallest role in what he called the so-called enterprise.
Literally, majority of the people that took the stand didn't even know who Mr. Taylor was. Or if they had seen him, they'd seen him once, maybe somewhere over the years. As I have said throughout this trial and at the beginning, Mr. Taylor isn't similarly situated to literally every other co-defendant that's on this case. We've all been through these hearings. We've all been through the trial. I just wanted to put that out there on the record because Mr. Taylor wanted to make sure that it was known he's played the smallest role in this case, yet he's already been punished more than every other person on the indictment.
When Tyrone spoke for himself, his final statement to the court was kind of like his cousin's, but he asked for a little mercy.
I know my life ain't been perfect. I made a lot of mistakes in life. I know my background ugly, but not violence, like being caught with guns and robbery and murders and stuff. I know that I made a lot of mistakes by making the wrong decisions. And I learned since 2019, I've been incarcerated, to make the right decision. And I learned a lot of patience. And the victims who are accusing me of something that they said I did,
that I didn't do. And it hurt me. Since I've been locked up, my family, I've been having folks dying on me. My son growing up, my daughter growing up. And I've been doing the best I can to get out this situation. And for the victim, Jordan Allen, I asked that she forgive me if she felt like I did any harm to her. I don't harm no one. I help people. I always have jobs that I work. I was a chef. I put pipes in the ground. I helped create Centennial Park, the Kroger off Ponce de Leon. I was working. I was doing a lot of positive things, but I had my foot sometimes in the wrong mud. So since I've been doing time, I learned to stay positive and don't do nothing negative. Just stay positive and stay prayed up. I talk to my mama every day that's all who I call, my mama, every day since I was locked up. And I talk to my son, I tell him, make the right decision. I talk to him like he's a brother. Make the right decision. And think about the consequences on the bad and the good. And I know that people judge me on my look, 'cause I got a strong face. I'm a man. I look like that. I can't help how I look. I'm not no violent person, no hurter. I don't hurt nobody. And any woman who got up to understand and say I hurted them, they can't show no proof, no picture, no report that I really physically hurted them. I got a mother, I got sisters, I got nieces, I got aunties. I love women. I ain't ever committed no crime that they're accusing me that I committed. You can look at my record. In the past, I was a user. I used to use drugs, and in 2017, I was in a drug program called Stan Inc. Fulton County put me in there. And when I was in there, when I completed the program, I was with my friend Felicia. I was in a relationship with her. In 2017, 18, and 19, I got caught up with this for something that I didn't do. And I don't know how to say it, but I know that if I actually can't get another chance to prove that I'm a righteous person, I'm not violent, I'm not no threat, I'm not none of that what they saying I am. I promise you I'm not. That's all I got to say, Your Honor.
In the end, the judge sentenced all three to what she found appropriate.
During the course of this trial, the court heard and viewed evidence demonstrating the very worst of human behavior toward other human beings. The jury verdict in this case reflects that the state met its burden in proving beyond a reasonable doubt that the diabolical conduct of the defendants occurred. The sentencing to be meted out by this court will be responsive to that. Mr. Jean Michael Gibson, would you please stand? Okay. On count one, violation of the Georgia RICO Act, 20 years to serve in confinement to run consecutive with count 10. On count 10, rape, life in confinement. Count 12, aggravated sodomy, life in confinement to run concurrent with count 10. Count 22, trafficking a person for sexual servitude, 20 years to serve in confinement to run consecutive with count 1. Count 23, trafficking a person for sexual servitude, 20 years to serve in confinement to run consecutive with count 22.
Now, there was more to his final sentence, but let's just say he got life in prison plus 70 years. And his cousin met the same fate. As for Mama Cash, she got the least amount of time and was sentenced to 30 years on RICO charges. Jean Michael Gibson, aka Cash Out, was also ordered to have no contact with any of the victims or their families. He must also register as a sex offender. Thanks for joining us here on Law and Crime. I'm Elizabeth Millner.